I always thought about harming myself.
I'm shy. I struggled with making friends.
I never thought I could do anything. I have extremely low self esteem.
Lately, I've been eating my pain away. Just throw it back up. I've been struggling to lose weight.
Somebody said I don't fit in just because I wear my hair the way I like it.
1 out of 5 American girls suffer from mental health problems. Don't be that girl. Talk to someone.
Those thoughts I had are long gone, for I have a future I need to get to.
In order to get better, I had to do better. I learned how to make friends.
I believe in myself. That's when everyone else did, I set an example.
Instead of me eating everything, I started watching my calories. The weight is falling off.
I wanted to change my hair, but I decided it was for me. It's for me.
A PSA from the Curvy Girl Project.
And good morning and welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and you will be enlightened by a half an hour of great information and news from my special guest, Dr. Teresa Holthrope. Now, before we get started, our calling numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, or 313-868-4336. Our website is www.tv33whpr.com. And you are watching us live in the phenomenal cities of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Glenda McDonald, or under the phenomenal city of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan. Before we get started, just want to make one little quick announcement real quick. To remind everybody that next Saturday is a very important day for those who support the Democratic Party, because the Michigan Democratic Party is having their conference at Cobo Hall. Now it's called Huntington Place. And if you'd like to come down there, if you are a Democrat and you'd like to come down there and support the party, then you should be down there at 9 o'clock for the different gatherings, the meetings, as well as the elections that they're going to have for Michigan Democratic Party chair, some of the district parties in terms of, say, throughout the state, the congressional districts as well as some of the caucuses. So you can look at some of the different, like for the LGBTQ, the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, and other caucuses that will be having elections that day as well. So again, that's going to be February 11th down at Huntington Place. So you have to, if you're a precinct delegate or you are registered with the Michigan Democratic Party, that you should come down there and you should support the party. I'm not sure when the Republican Party has their conference, but we'll keep you abreast of that as well too. I don't want to get into the ramifications of what happened in terms of, say, with the young man in Memphis, Tennessee, but I'm glad that people are, if they're protesting or if they're in defiance of what happened, that they're peaceful and no one is getting hurt as a result of the Tyre Nichols that was brutally murdered. So again, our hearts, our prayers go out to the family of Tyreek Nichols, and I know they're having the homegoing service, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be tomorrow in Memphis, Tennessee. So again, our hearts, our prayers, and our condolences go out to the family and friends of Tyreek Nichols. But today, I've got a special guest in the studio with me, and her name is Dr. Teresa Holthrope, and she is the Executive Director of Kids Health Connections. Dr. Holthrope, thank you for coming on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, just kind of go into, a little bit of detail about what is the mission of Kids Health Connections?
So Kids Health Connections' mission is to improve what we call the medical home for practices that serve Medicaid-enrolled children in Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County. We started out back in 2012 as Wayne Children's Healthcare Access Program, and we were modeled after a program that had started in Grand Rapids called Kent CHAP. They had done a 3-year demonstration project under the auspices of the Great Start Collaborative, Kent County, and had been able to show that, first of all, in the first year, they looked just at statewide data, and they showed that kids who are enrolled in Medicaid tend to have more hospitalizations, more surgeries, more ER visits, and less preventive care services than commercially insured children. And then in their second and third year, they launched their CHAP project and were able to show over the next 2 years that they could reduce the emergency room visits and the hospitalizations and improve the amount of preventive care services that Medicaid-enrolled children were getting. And we heard about this, I and a couple of other folks from the Physical Health Action Team of the Great Start Wayne Collaborative went to a medical home conference in Lansing, and we heard about what they were doing in Kent County, and we said, we need something like that for Wayne County, and set about getting some funding. The initial funders were Kresge and the Kellogg Foundation, and we were a little bit like adolescents, not really knowing what we were getting ourselves into. And when we got the funding, then we realized, wow, our landscape is so different from Kent County. We don't have just one Medicaid health plan. We have 8 Medicaid health plans. And guess what? The 8 Medicaid health plans aren't necessarily going to share data with us, which is probably a good thing at the time because I don't think we knew what we were doing. We do know now what we're doing. But so the data that we were looking for was how do we help an individual pediatric practice to do a better job of taking care of their Medicaid-enrolled children. And so what we ended up having to do was sit down with the practices and say, what do you need to become a better medical home? And they said, well, you know what? We have issues with 4 different areas. We have issues with services for kids that are overweight or obese, kids who have asthma, kids who have mental health issues and getting access to mental health services. And yes, we also have trouble getting kids in for well child visits. So we took a much more programmatic approach and really kind of designed programs that address those different things. And one of our most popular programs actually became our Fit Kids 360 program, which is an 8-week program for kids 5 to 17 years old who are in the overweight to obese range. They have to have a referral from their primary care doctor. It's not just for the kids, it's also for the adult. So an adult and the child participates. It's once a week, typically for 2 hours in the evening on a Wednesday or Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. And in the first hour, the parents and the kids each have their separate group sessions. They learn about various topics related to healthy nutrition, exercise, and some psychosocial issues, self-esteem, how to address bullying, those sorts of things. And then in the second hour, they come together, and each week they learn different ways of exercising. Over the course of 8 weeks, we've been able to show that there are some really significant changes, not in weight. It's not meant as a weight loss program, but really kind of in giving the family tools to live a healthier lifestyle. One of the things that has been really instrumental in making us successful in this is having mentors. A lot of our mentors come from Wayne State Medical School. We have mentors from all over, though, and they get assigned to a family, and they contact the family once between the sessions every week, and they also attend the session with the family in order to help them keep the goals that they set for themselves and kind of help them along. So that's been a really, really popular program, and we've had times where we've had a 200-kid wait list. One of the measures of success is that if a family shows up for the second session, the first session is an orientation session. The second session, now you're getting down into the nitty-gritty. Families that show up for the second session, we have an 85 to 100% retention rate.
Wow.
That tells you we're doing something right. And many of our families have then gone on to participate in our follow-up programming. In the summer, we often have a Fit Kids on the Move program, which is a Couch to 5K training session for graduates of Fit Kids from previous years. And over the course of the years, we've had the same families come back again and again and again, and it's so much fun to see the kids growing up and to see how they're doing. And we have some amazing stories of kids really feeling and families really feeling like they've been successful and have been able to make some major changes in life. So it really goes far beyond addressing the obesity issue. The other area that our practices said they needed some assistance with was asthma, so we ended up developing our own asthma home education program where we have asthma educators who go to the home and assist the family in putting in place the interventions that the doctor may have prescribed around their asthma, making sure they understand how to use their medications, that they have all the tools that they need, that they have an asthma action plan, that the school is informed as to what needs to happen to keep a kid from having an asthma attack. The asthma educator actually will go with the family to a doctor's appointment to make sure that all of the issues that might be percolating in the background are being addressed. They help the family figure out what are asthma triggers in the home and make some changes around that. So that's been a really good program, and we've been getting a lot of, we've done some follow-up evaluation, and we have some really great outcomes there in terms of reduced numbers of emergency room visits and bad asthma attacks, et cetera. And then for mental health, I want to get into that in just a minute because it took us a long time to kind of figure out where can we be most successful in assisting. And we do have a social worker who helps when we get a referral from a practice for someone who needs assistance in getting into mental health services. We do have a social worker who can help do that. We've learned what the mental health system in the Wayne County area is. Now we're expanding that to Oakland and Macomb County. But in addition, we have some programming that really addresses some of the mental health issues. And then around preventive care services, one of the things that we have made great strides, actually during the pandemic in particular, it has forced us to look at things a little bit differently, is helping practices identify who are the kids who are behind on immunizations, who might not be coming to them, and therefore the practice isn't really aware, oh, there's a kid out there that is way behind on immunizations, on getting blood lead testing done, on getting developmental screening done, and so we're helping the practices identify who those kids are and bring them in with a variety of incentives. And then our goal really is to get those families hooked up with community resources that go beyond what the medical practice can offer. So we've been working a lot with a bunch of community partners. Brilliant Detroit and Black Family Development have been really instrumental in helping us get families connected. We get them, we make sure they know how to access the 211 system, et cetera, et cetera. Back to mental health, because that's such a big topic right now. So the two areas where we've really made some great strides is, number one, we were able, through the good graces of the Garden City Hospital Heritage Foundation, and then later United Healthcare gave us some grant funding to develop a pilot program which we consider sort of a bridge program between the medical world and the mental health world. Oftentimes you'll have a family that says, where the healthcare provider says, oh man, they're really stressed, they need some assistance. But the family says, yeah, I'm stressed, but I don't need mental health. I'm not crazy. And so how do you support a family who is dealing with a lot of stress, and how do you help them build resilience? And so we've come up with a program called Fit Families, Healthy Minds. And that program it uses the same structure as our Fit Kids program. So it's a 6-week program instead of an 8-week program. It's for the parent and the child. We're focusing currently just on the teens, so for 11 to 17-year-olds. And we do use mentors also. And we've even been fortunate to access some psychiatry residents who are very interested in figuring this out. It gives them a different view of what families have to deal with. And so that Fit Families program, over the course of 6 weeks, We're addressing things such as stress, conflict, emotions, self-esteem, and then also how to deal with social media, because that's such a big player in young our teenagers' lives. So that's the one program. And then the other program that is more for very young children, it's not meant as mental health, but it has a mental health effect. And that is a program called Lena Start. It's designed to improve the language richness in the home environment for very young children, because we know that when children at a very young age hear a lot of language in the home and are able to, be encouraged to interface, to converse with their parents, they come to school better ready to learn. And so what Lena Start does, it uses a little word pedometer. And you do this with children less than 3 years of age, because you have to get the brain when it's very, very young. And the child wears this little word pedometer in a vest. It records up to 16 hours worth of the language environment in the home. And you're going to say, oh my goodness, I don't want somebody hearing that I swore at my kid or whatever. And it doesn't we can't play it back. So it's not like we can tell what was said. But really think of it as a word pedometer. We put this device into a software program, hook it up, and it spits out a report that tells us how many words were spoken by an adult within 10 feet of the child, how much conversational turn-taking was there, that back and forth between you and the child. And that's an amazing thing to watch in videos sometimes. We don't have videos, but we've seen others who've made some videos of this. And I've seen like a dad talking to a 1-month-old. A 1-month-old can't talk. But that dad and that kid, they're going back and forth, and you just know there's a conversation going on there. It's just amazing to see. And that really is what builds the brain. And then the third thing that this report spits out for you is how much TV and electronic sound was there, because that's passive. That doesn't involve the child actually saying something. That's just background noise. And so it doesn't do anything. You want to try and cut that down a little bit. Most of our families are hearing too much TV and electronic sound. So families come together once a week, for over 10 weeks. They learn different ways of increasing the language richness in their home environment, and they bring in their recording device, and they get the report from the week before. And so over the course of 10 weeks, they can actually see how they are improving. And the families that have participated in it absolutely love it. We had a graduation, and I was able to talk to a lot of the parents, and I remember there was a mom and a dad, and there were 2 children less than 3 in that family, and so they had both been there at all of these sessions. And I said, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you think this is a really important program, and 1 is you don't think this is a really important program at all, and it's not worth it, what number would you give it? And the mom looked at me, and she said, oh, I'd give it a 9 at least. And the dad looked at me and he said, no, I'd give it an 11. What Lena Start does, though, is, and there's some national studies out now, it doesn't just improve the language richness in the home and make parents aware of how important it is to read to their child or to have conversations with their child about when they're going to the grocery store, about what they're seeing around them. It also actually improves social emotional outcome. And think of it, it makes sense. A child that feels like they're being heard, they're being listened to, is going to be less likely to be a child that acts out. And so, behavior has an impact.
Oh, yeah.
It has an impact on behavior. And so, in that sense, it's like really early mental health intervention, very, very early. So those are some of the programs that we are offering.
So now, your programs, you're pretty much established where, in terms of saying what areas? Okay,
so over the course of the last 10 years, we've been in existence since 2012, so a little bit over 10 years actually. We have relationships with over 50 primary care practices. Most of them are in the Detroit-Wayne County area,
Okay.
but we have expanded and have some relationships with practices in Macomb County and a few in Oakland County also. Our goal is to eventually expand to those also. The big challenge is always finding funding.
That's what I was going to ask you. What
yeah,
are your challenges?
Yeah. The big one is always funding. Some of our programs will have an impact on outcome measures that the Medicaid health plans are responsible for, and so We've gotten some relationships with Medicaid health plans that are giving us some dollars, not enough to help fund it all. Some of our programs go so far beyond what is typically viewed as being medical, and so it's a little harder for the Medicaid health plans to wrap their arms around it. So we're always looking for grant funding from foundations, and we've had some really good support from a number of funders. We're always happy to get more.
So then that kind of segues in the short time that we've got left. Give your contact information if somebody wants to support you, if somebody wants to get more information about the program, and if they'd like to donate money to the program.
Sure.
Can
Yeah.
you look in the camera and just tell the potential, individuals that may be interested how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah. So the best place to go would be to our website, and which is www.khcmi.org. That's KHC as in Kids Health Connections Michigan, khcmi.org. And if you look on that site, you'll see there's a donate button. There's also a what do we do button, so you can look a little bit at some of these programs that I've talked about.
So now, you mentioned some of the other challenges. One is in terms of saying trying to go and get monies to help support. Now, where are you located at?
Our physical offices are located in New Center 1 on West Grand Boulevard. We have a satellite site out in Warren at the Thompson Center.
Okay.
But those are really just administrative offices. We don't do any programming services there. We work very, very closely with a lot of community partners. Detroit Parks and Rec has been a really important partner for us. Some of our Fit Kids programming we've done there. We've done some of our Fit Kids programming down at Children's Hospital of Michigan. We've done it out in Westland at the Jefferson Barnes Community Center. We have a program growing right now. We've got some funding. We talked about the funding issue. So we had some funding that came to us from a community settlement that went to 3 communities, 48217, Ecorse, and River Rouge, and we were invited by the folks in 48217 to offer programming at Mark Twain School for Scholars. So we have been doing that, and that has really kind of informed a lot of our it's changed how we think about community, because that community is just so amazing to me. It has, and they view themselves kind of as one community, those 3, even though our work has been primarily in 48217, we have connected over to the folks in Ecorse and in River Rouge. And just last week, we had a community meeting at a cafe to brainstorm where are the gaps, where are things that are going well, what needs to happen. And I just love that community because they all know each other, and there is such a sense of we are one, we really want to try and make things better. And what we do, yes, it started out with the practices asking us, the pediatric practices saying we need this, this, and this, but we've learned and really taken to heart that whenever we offer something, we need community input. It needs to be driven by the community. We're really good at thinking outside of the box and coming up with unique ways of offering services, but it's really, what does the community need?
And that's something that I think that, as we always say, it takes a village, to raise a child. But at the same time, too, my other question in the few minutes we have left, the parents, and I know you said about the gentleman that said that he would gave it an 11, and whereas the woman said that she would have gave it a 9. But now, do you also have some kind of like wraparound services for the parents more so involved with the young people, with their children's lives?
I think the fact that, we do focus on the kids. We're a children's healthcare access program. But children grow up in the context of their families and the context of their community. And so we don't have specific programs for the adults, except for the fact that some of these programs that I've mentioned really focus on educating the parent. As in terms of the asthma, one of the other areas that we've done something that doesn't really focus on the kids, it focuses on the adults more, is we were able to get some grant funding from the state, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, to offer training for child care providers, specifically license-exempt child care providers. So these are, grandmas, aunts, and uncles who are providing child care in the home. And around how do you service, how do you make life better for a child who has asthma that you're caring for. So we call that our Little Lungs program. And that's you can access that through my registry, and it's a 2.5 hour session, virtual, so you don't even have to go anywhere. And if you live in Oakland, Macomb, or Wayne County, and you're a license-exempt child care provider, not licensed, but license-exempt child care provider, we can actually provide you with some additional resources such as vacuum cleaners or cleaning supplies, depending on what it is that you need.
To alleviate the asthma that
Exactly.
might be,
Yeah, cut down on the asthma
Right.
triggers in the home. Yeah.
So now, just in the minute that we've got left, Dr. Holstrup, just what are your future aspirations for your Kids Health Connection?
What I'd really like to see happen is that we take a very locally community-specific approach. In 48217, we were able to hire a community health worker from that community, and that has been really instrumental in helping us to understand the community and respond to community needs. I would like to do that expand to other communities within our service area and take that very same approach and link families up to what the local resources are, and supplement what locally might still be needed.
So I know you've got something what you were doing in Ken County, Grand Rapids, Ada, up in that area. Are you also expanding west, like going out to Jackson?
We didn't do Kent County. We used that as a model.
Okay.
And at this point, I want to stick with the Tri-County area because you know what? We service, the Tri-County area covers at least 40% of the state's Medicaid kids.
I got you. Okay.
That's all I can handle. 440,000 Medicaid enrolled children. Don't ask me to do more, please.
I got you. Well, our guest today on Expose Under the Sun has been Dr. Teresa Holstrup, and we want to thank her for being on the show with us today. And I do want to tell you, too, if you'd like to get a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper, who sponsors our show, you can contact Ms. Valerie Lockhart at area code 313-457-5944. And I do want to thank a good friend of mine, Vicki, who allowed us to be able to go and connect with our special guest today. So again, Vicki, do want to thank you again for bringing Ms. Lockhart on Expose Under the Sun. Have a great rest of the day and have someone let you know that they love you and you let them know that you love them back. Have a great rest of the day.
Here at the Full and Fabulous Curvy Girl Project, we don't just focus on health, beauty, and self-esteem. We also offer an amazing summer program for young ladies ages 12 to 18. For more information, visit our website at fullandfabulous.org. See you soon.